Hey guys, Commander Casual here. Just posting a video for one of my new decks, a bit of a deck tech for it. So this is Belbe, the Corrupted Observer. She came out with the new like Commander sealed product, not the pre-made decks, but the actual boosters. So she's a black-green zombie elf for one black and one green. At the beginning of each player's post-combat main phase, that player adds 2 neutral mana for each of your opponents who lost life this turn. So in the standard Commander game, you're looking at 2 to 6 extra mana on that post-combat, depending on how many of your opponents have taken damage. So we're going to try to exploit that ability as much as we can with a whole bunch of spells that cause damage to either every player or every one of our opponents. And that's what this kind of row is right here. So we've got a whole bunch of 1-drops that cause like 1 point of damage when they attack or when they tap, or they're a little. Some of them are a little weird, like Thornbow Archer, where it's it deals, or each opponent that doesn't control an elf loses 1 point, or Pulse Tracker, where it's just when it attacks, everybody else loses 1, or I think one of them just has to be tapped to do it. Then we've got some that, Class 3 Healer is probably like arguably our worst one, where it just does it once when it enters the battlefield. Then we've got some repeatable effects like Sanctum of Stonefangs, a random shrine that causes it every upkeep. Shepherd of Rot's a tap ability. Archer's Parapet is a paid and tap ability. But anyway, we got a whole bunch of cards here that all have different ways to cause damage to either every opponent every player or each opponent. Our land base is nothing really special here. I got a whole bunch of, kind of like black-green lands. I love running the temples because I love to scry. Then just a whole bunch of, kind of common commander staple lands. We can get away with a lot of like neutral colored lands in here. Cathedral War I just like playing in a lot of decks because a lot of our spells are going to be big ticket spells with a lot of neutral mana. So this deck is the Belbe 666 deck, but it doesn't really have like a satanic theme or anything like that. It's just about cards with 6 neutral mana or more. So we've got a whole bunch of like artifacts and other neutral colored spells in that 6 slot, because the idea is like turn 1 we play like a Mardu Shadow Spear, and then on turn 2 we play Belbe, and then we attack with Mardu Shadow Spear, which causes all of our opponents to take damage, and then we play like a Worm Coil Engine, or we play a Staff of Nin, or we play an Oblivion Sower, or we play a God Pharaoh statue, which is a particularly cruel one early on in the game because it makes everybody pay more. But the other fun thing about Belbe is that it works for everybody. So my opponents can cash in on the extra mana too, but theoretically they're never going to be able to get as much as we can because they probably won't have a way to cause loss of life to themselves because they still count as an opponent for the card. Now, obviously, there's a lot of black cards that cause damage to every player, or a lot of black cards that just cause damage to self. So theoretically, our opponents could exploit it as much as we can, but they're unlikely to. So the deck's not too complicated. I'm not going to go into too much of the big heavy stuff, but we got some fun stuff like Ward of Bones is a good way to stop other people from getting ahead of us. We've got like Dread Defiler is a really big fun Eldrazi. You've got World Breaker, All Is Dust, because we have a whole bunch of colorless permanents. Got some big ticket stuff that I really like that doesn't necessarily go in a lot of decks, like Sandworm Convergence. You just get a free worm every turn, and then we've got some really big ticket stuff like Rise of the Dark Realms, In Garrick's Wake, Death Mutation. Like there's a whole cycle of these mutation cards. So Artifact Mutation and I think Enchantment Mutation are probably the most common ones, and it's red green or green white for those. There's also like an Aether Mutation, which is the blue one, and it bounces and makes saplings. Death Mutation like never gets played because it's like 8 mana to play, but I'm forcing it in this because I really want to play it, and I swear I'll build a deck someday that runs all of the cycle. I mean, there's only 4 cards in the cycle because there isn't a green one to my knowledge, but anyway. And then we got a whole bunch of other interesting stuff like Meteor Golem and Bane of Balaged. Conduit of Ruin helps us grab some of those other big colorless guys. Terastodon, hilarious elephant shenanigans. But mostly we're just gonna try to like outvalue our opponents with that extra mana off Belbe, and then slowly drain everybody to death. So we've got all these kind of pain and drain effects, and then hopefully that'll eventually whittle our opponents down that we can hit them with some of our bigger guys in this other end of the board. And then we've also got a couple just X spells to help close out the game or make a big impact, like Primordial Hydra is one of my favorite cards in Paper, so I run that a lot. Torment of Hailfire, obviously, big X-Bong, Exsanguinate, and then Court of Calling just can get us another one of those big guys in our library that we might not be able to have in our hand right away. So that's the deck. I'll post a deck list, like a tapped out deck list link in the description if you want to see more of the specifics. But if not, just check out the other gameplay videos for it.